Are you on the edge of your seat? Because we're about to sound off with Kevin Williams, covering today's latest trends in location-based entertainment. Brought to you by the LBX Collective, your community to connect, engage, and inspire. All right, everyone, let's buckle up.
All right. Well, welcome everybody to Sound Off with Kevin Williams. This is episode number 117 for April 14th, 2026. Kevin, my friend, how are you?
Speeding through April.
I know. It's crazy. Not just April, the year. It's nuts.
Yeah, it does feel like we are accelerating on a rocket to the moon, as it were. But anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So how are you going to change my mind this week?
Well, this week is the week of bowling, as it were. You know, from my perspective, is boutique bowling really just accelerating the end of the more traditional sports bowling scenario. We are seeing a lot of traditional sports bowling venues, that is full-size lanes, full woods, bring your own smelly shoe specials, now being ripped up and either repurposed into entertainment facilities or repurposed into competitive socializing brands. And it really does beg the question, is this just a trend? The same way in the 1950s sports bowling was a trend, or is this something a little bit more serious where the audience is voting literally with their feet?
Yeah, is it the audience or is it the operators, or is it's just a cycle that we're seeing, where there's aging out of the operators running these businesses and newer operators coming in and seeing the facilities and seeing the opportunity to update and modernize the attraction mix and the facilities? I wonder what what is accelerating the overall long tail decline of sports bowling.
So 50 lanes. A really crappy arcade behind us in our virtual recreation of what we're looking at.
Yep.
A really dodgy bar in the corner, sports bar. Don't eat the fries. A shoe hire, a merchandising facility to buy your balls, your bags, and your trophies. That was it.
Yeah.
And if the landlord is looking for you to make the same type of money as the Costco next door, you can't under this current model. Though strip this out, put in some duckpin, really fancy bar, lots of amusement, competitive socializing, and maybe do some shareable menus, and that model becomes more believable. And this is really where we are. No one has woken up one day on Mount Sinai and suggested that your business is guaranteed to succeed. Yeah. So unless you can move with the times, unless you can generate the revenue, just putting the prices up and hoping that the mechanics at the back will take less money for that very dangerous job of maintaining these the older machines.
Yeah.
And you're in danger of someone walking through your warehouse with a lighter. The situation is that staffing, operation, and entertainment value are all being pressed and squeezed, and the competition doesn't care about how shiny and how champion match quality your floor is.
Yes, what your oil patterns are, etc. Yeah.
There are individuals that will visit your facility and video that, but if they bring customers into your facility, you're very lucky.
Indeed. All right. Well, coming up with a quick break, we will dive right into the trends.
Intercard is the only cashless system designed, developed, and manufactured all under one roof. They introduced cashless technology to the amusement industry and have been leading the way for over 30 years. Cashless systems from Intercard increase customer spending, guest satisfaction, and boost revenues by up to 30%. Intercard is so proud to be serving the amusement industry, and if you aren't already part of their global family of customers, they hope you will become one soon.
And moving on into the economy, as it were, and one piece of information that our friends at Licensing International media have passed on is that a whole load of products and suppliers who have been impacted by both tariff and the current Middle East situation are working together, which I hope they're not working too closely together, towards increases in wholesale prices. That will have ramifications across everything from the towelettes you put on your table, to the ketchup you put into your containers, to the food that you're serving, to the spare parts or the prizes that go into your machines. And so we need to be prepared for the price shock, no matter the geopolitical situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, we'll just continue to watch how things shake out. I mean, even if the strait were to open, tomorrow, the long tail of this issue will take 9 months to unravel.
At least, because the tail may be now a different shape.
Yes.
Going forwards. Again, we don't want to get into the politics of this, but it looks like oil will now have a new levy put on top of it, not just the oil, but the fertilizer and urea that goes through this particular waterway. And so we will feel that impact. And as all things of this nature, it will take 9 months. Moving on, and the biz. And let's celebrate some anniversaries. Let's go back 50 years. Such a long time ago, so different, when they were having a Middle East oil crisis. They had a very unpopular government in, and the head of that government had just survived an assassination. And anyway, so the far off time of 1976, and a friend of ours, Roger Sharpe, saved pinball. There's a film made about it.
Yeah, it was a good film, by the way.
It's a good film. I think the individual, I didn't like the look of the individual that they got to play Roger, because I know Roger, but he did play him very well. He got the mannerism, he did it all.
Yeah.
So anyway, quick history lesson for all of you lot sleeping at the back of the classroom. Roger was a writer, or still is a writer, but at that time for GQ magazine, and was an ardent pinballer. And there was a situation in New York where New York was going to increase its levy to a total ban of all steel ball machines within its coverage. And Roger felt very strongly that the new modern amusement products coming out were not gaming machines. They weren't no chance of winning, just ball launches and falls down slots, and you might win one time in 1,000. He felt that if you had skill and playability, and so he showed to a number of judges that were making the ruling that skill was involved in this process, and led to the definition of skill with prizes and skill play machines. And he saved the day, and the industry was saved, literally. The pinball industry would have gone the way of the dinosaurs. You don't see that many pin slot machines anymore, unless you go to some dodgy American adult arcades, but it was a serious point, and the amusement industry actually recognized the importance of that by giving Roger a position in the Hall of Fame back in 2023. And we jump forward to modern days, and so suddenly the Midwest's largest pinball arcade, which we just talked about in a couple of days ago in Open and Shut, threw its doors open, and as a mark of recognition to the ability of their very existence, they invited Roger along and had a little bit of a ceremony for that. 50 years, what a difference can be made, and for an industry to be salvaged from being sucked into being perceived as a gaming experience. There's something to learn from that regarding my sulking that I always do wandering around the AAMA and AMOA Amusement Expo, which is when I see all of those gaming machines kind of sucking on us like vampiric monsters, that if we associate ourselves too much with those guys, then we could be at that savior moment. But again, getting off my hobby horse, I just want to congratulate the guys at the Pinball Capital for at least recognizing this valuable 50th anniversary.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a phenomenal anniversary for for Roger. I mean, great thing for Roger as well to have been able to be there. But pretty remarkable facility too. I mean, it is definitely, like I think we talked about on Open and Shut, some sort of labor of love. The facility itself is very much like a warehouse, but very clean, nice clean flooring. Very clean power runs as well. Everything looks very nice and very well maintained. And there are some old machines in there.
Very old, older than even that 1976 period. It is what I call the cleanest man cave for pinball machines I've ever seen, because this is a very big labor of love, and it is. Yeah. This is more of a museum than an entertainment facility, though it will be popular, and the Midwest deserves to have a large entertainment venue of this kind. But while we talk about the 1950s, let's linger a little longer. What was available around then? We had an interesting situation. We had Midway taking a proven, successful electromechanical game developed by a Japanese company called Sega, and they turned it into a digital recreation. Who would have thought that this video game business is going to survive? But we'll take a punt. It's easy to do. We'll use our skill set, and suddenly Seawolf is created, 10,000 units out the door, and then suddenly people are beginning to think even more that video amusement isn't just a flash in the pan since the great days of Pong. We also had our friends with at Atari with Night Driver, not a major seller, but still an influential game. It was one of the first video games that gave you a first-person perspective driving experience. So we are seeing the beginning of the simulation. And then we have the odd one out. We have kind of Pong on steroids. We have the situation where Atari needed to find that mojo again. They needed the vibe. And so they got a very young programmer that was working for them to work on this concept that Nolan was playing around with, using the latest graphics card, chip board.
Chips, not even a card. Chip
board, programming this difficult chip, needing some machine code skills. But hey, this stuff, Mr. Jobs. And Mr. Jobs went to his best mate, Wozniak, to get him to work alongside him. And to be honest, the reality is that Woz did all the hard lifting on this one. He was the one that understood the chip base. He understood the programming. And after a couple of sleepless nights, a lot of caffeinated drinks and complaints from fellow office users, they managed to roll out Breakout within the time that Nolan had set them. To go away and become a success, to not equal, but at least prove that Pong wasn't just a flash in the pan. The money that Steve got as a bonus and that he shared with Woz eventually went on to fund a little company that is also celebrating its 50th anniversary today.
I love these kind of stories. Just how everything is woven together. I think it's just fantastic.
It is. If you look at the wall of string over there, it's something that I enjoy immensely. When I first came into the video game industry, or then the microcomputer game industry, and just got sucked into it, all of the connections of silicon and solder that link all of these industries together, and fundamentally what we get out of all of that silicon is fascinating, and what comes next is important, but also remembering our history is essential. Moving on to the new developments, and after a long period of hunting, Meow Wolf has finally found its new CEO. The announcement was made that Matthew was going to be taking up the position. Matthew comes from an interesting history. He's been in the AI side, he's been on the metaverse side, he's been on the video game side. He's touched a lot of aspects of what I would call the transmedia entertainment sector, the interactive side. Now he finds himself at the helm of Meow Wolf that has 4 facilities open at the moment, with plans for another 2. They have their LA facility, I think, that's due to throw its doors open. I'm interested why it took them so long to find someone to jump into Meow Wolf, because Meow Wolf is held up by many investors and individuals as the poster boy of immersive entertainment. The success that they achieved off of Amiga Mart at Area 15 still continues. I can attest to that. I was watching the audiences going into Amiga Mart. The question is, you can't live off one success. And we're at a point now where Meow Wolf needs to prove itself as being more than just a one-hit wonder, and more than just an art commune gone native. We need to see profits. We need to see a structure and a business plan. And so a lot of pressure for that 12-month hiatus to find a CEO. Now Matthew will have to start not just running, but accelerating.
And I'm just not sure he's the guy to do it. It's hard to say. His pedigree is diverse, I guess we'll say. Most recently in digital advertising. At Trade Desk, he's was the CEO of Deep Voodoo, which is not even sure exactly. They're a technology, information, and media. It may have been a media company at some point.
Association of some of the executives behind the company he had links to.
Yeah, and before then he was at Facebook and at Meta for 5 years, as the VP of Metaverse development, so which is why he's not there anymore.
He was one of the first to see the door beckoning.
Yeah, exactly. And so leads me to ask the question: what is potentially the long-term strategy for Meow Wolf? The fact that they're bringing on somebody with digital media chops, right? Yes. Coming from the social space, the metaverse development.
You can see where they're thinking.
Exactly, right? So this is, potentially where they're, really looking to beef up their digital side of their, overall media organization, turning into a transmedia organization potentially. We've seen them try to weave together their overall worlds, from one location to the next. Where will that go, online/offline, and how will that bring those threads together? And maybe that's part of the strategy of bringing Matthew Hennick into this role.
I have a number of press releases from them back in the day where they were trying to promote a, let's call it a smart app that was linked to what they were doing with Amiga Mart, or what they were doing in Santa Fe and stuff like that. It never took off. It never gained traction or stickiness. They hope, I assume, by this particular positioning, that they have an individual that will help with that drive. And also, we need to be aware that the investment that's gone into Meow Wolf wasn't just for them to open a couple of facilities and do some art exhibits. It is that this company is on a trajectory to open multiple facilities, and I wouldn't be surprised to float. Moving on, and more transitions. We wake up to the news that Gabby from Triotech was no longer with Triotech. And was taking up a position at Pro Slides Technology, the company behind the water slides and the slide attraction technology. An interesting pivot away from a media-based entertainment company. And it's one of those departures where the photograph of the smiling individual sitting at the desk in the boardroom belies a number of questions regarding where he's just come from. As we know, Triotech actually had him come back to the company after leaving, and now, from 2023 to departing straight away into a position away from the media-based entertainment sector is one thing, but again, as I always say, who benefits or who loses? Who is the replacement of Triotech? As there is no announcement of a new CEO or managing director at Triotech at the moment, it tells us that this was a surprise to them as it was to the rest of the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Will be interesting to see how long he stays at ProSlide.
Start your bets now. Moving on, and Play Revelations. We talked about in the opens and shuts how the active entertainment trampoline business was looking to evolve and change and grow, and that they needed to become more mixed-use entertainment and also come up with a different business model to ensure that their revenue stream keeps up with the ever-increasing costs of and demands of landlords. And one of those approaches is the ability to gamify the experience, the active entertainment experience. And one of those companies that has been working on this type of technology is our friends at Play Revolution. And we wake up to the news that they have received a reasonable investment from Foresight Group towards growing their business and moving forwards on the next level of active solutions, or as I would call active entertainment solutions. It's an interesting one to watch because this is the beginning of really something I've been very big about, which is the gamification of active entertainment. And the only way you can gamify it is if you actually know who's playing the games and what they've achieved and stuff like this. And this type of technology, as well as other technologies, have started to do this. And in maybe 3 or 4 years, how we look upon an active entertainment or a trampoline venue is going to be totally different to the experience that we see currently.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, full disclosure, as the CEO of IntelliPlay, that gamifies active play entertainment facilities and venture parks, I 100% agree with you in that we will see the active play entertainment space absolutely evolve. And Tag Active is obviously one of the products that Play Revolution has. They have the aerial assault, they have cyber tower, and they have obviously the more traditional active play types of attractions as well, soft play, the volcanoes, etc. But yes, they are obviously moving and focusing more on the overall play technologies that are going to gamify these active play facilities.
They have managed to find an investor that's prepared to put money in them because they can understand the direction they're going on. Those other companies out there that also have active entertainment systems will now see the movement that will be caused by this. And I wouldn't be surprised that IALPA in November, that we don't see the next iteration of investment in that direction. Our friends at Sega, not amusement, but the Sega Japan or Sega Sammy Corp have been working very hard on their transmedia chops, and we see roll out the opening of their pop-up shop, the Sega pop-up shop. What an original name that was. Offers, branded merch from both Sammy, Atlas, and Sega properties, their films. We have a new film coming from Sega soon in the Sonic canon, and so they're building off of that. And this is really shots fired at our friends at Bandai Namco with their Namco Cross Store. A little mini war will be starting now, where if you have a Japanese popular IP that's being turned into a film, you'll be opening up a pop-up merch store rather than selling it to the local Costco. It does also beg the question of when we're going to see Nintendo throw their hat in the ring. But again, we may be getting a little ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, I'm quite surprised, actually. We haven't seen Nintendo throw their hat into this pop-up, physical location experience. And maybe they're looking to partner with somebody like a Fever, for example, to deploy their type of deploy their IP in a pop-up experience environment.
Our friends at Red Engine, who are behind the Flight Club and the Electric Shuffle brands of competitive socializing, have been getting a lot of media coverage. Usually when you see a lot of media coverage, especially in the UK financials, it means that they're paying very high penny to get market recognition in a crowded market, and that maybe there's some bigger announcements coming from them. Anyway, it's been made clear that they're going to go for a plan in the next 3 to 4 years of having 45 facilities open rather than the current selection that they have at the moment. I want to see more electric shuffles. I want to see more flight clubs opening up, but I also want them to reevaluate the model that they're developing by. But I am just the messenger. I am not the consultant on this one.
Yeah. Well, and are they going to continue to just make announcements about opening more locations in Europe, or are they going to actually open more locations in Europe? That will be the question to watch.
If we're still having this question in 4 months' time, they've got a problem on their hands. And that problem will be from all of the competition that they'll be getting. Our friends at Emerging, if you're not familiar with the operation, they're an investment company that has helped certain of the competitive socializing companies to find their legs and stretch. And be able to establish themselves. They were behind the rollout of Putt They were behind the rollout of Flight Club, as well as F1 Arcade. Not exactly as the key investor, but helping in the facilitation process and the rollout process. And now the operation has announced that it's adding to its portfolio 2 new products. One of those products is Sing Pods, which we've already touched upon, and the other is the operation that supplies both normal bowling and string bowling and duckpin bowling systems, our friends at Funk. Both of these companies have been parachuted in as additional products to existing competitive socializing entertainment brands, and it is now Emerging, kind of having this operation in their back pocket as an addition or as a means to support existing brands. I would not be surprised if I walk into a putt track in the future, especially in the UK, and see a Singing Pods located in the back, or maybe a duckpin bowling like our friends at Five Irons has added to their mix. For a company that was focused on standalone one-style entertainment, competitive socializings, to then now admit that there are other levels of entertainment that can be added to the mix, tells us a lot about how the competitive socializing portfolio is changing.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is something as well that is a shift for them. I mean, they have invested in some products in the past. They've invested in One Huddle, which is obviously been very well known in the industry, but they've also invested in a couple of like robot type things, Botrista and Overproof. But this is really one of the first times they've invested into products versus entertainment, facilities or brands or rollouts. So it'd be really interesting to see what Funk does with their investment, and Sing Pods does as well. Is it to focus purely on expansion, or is it to evolve their actual product?
Yeah, I think we're a matter of months away from a competitive socializing, mixed-use leisure entertainment approach. Whoever gets that off the ground successfully with the right branding will be going up, of course, against Gravities and the Skinners and other events, other locations, but it is also going to be offering something unique to the market. But again, this is the beginning, the launch pad, shall we say. Let's see if they make it to the moon. And then, you can't have a comfortable couple of days without the world blowing up. And the The issue for me was that, I spent a lot of time during the last sound off going on about the announcement from our friends at Dave & Buster's about their investment sales and the decline that they had seen on their same sites. But really, behind the background, there was developments taking place. And at the end of March, Dave & Buster's rolled out a brand new marketing campaign and promotional campaign across a certain number of their facilities, which is now being rolled out across all of their operation within North America. Under the unlimited play for $1 a day brand, or under the What the Fun, WTF, marketing team, A-class, A-class. They have rolled out a 60-day deal where for the purchase of $60 or more cards, you get unlimited access across the amusement. But I know our audience is intelligent to know that there's no such thing as a everlasting meal or an unlimited deal. So what is the T's and C's? What is the hiddens? Well, you can go off and buy for $59.99 your standard card, and that will give you your 60 days from purchase to play all of the machines, and it'll even give you 5% off food. But you can only use certain machines in the facilities. You can't use redemption machines. You can't use ticketed redemption machines. You can't use the new machines, which are called Purple Games. I learned something from this, which includes their VR games or the human crane machine. And you also have an undisclosed cap on the number of tickets that, while you're using this card, you can collect. That picture of that very irate man is a simulation of what certain individuals that will buy this deal will be giving the grief to members of staff, because when you see the word unlimited, you don't really look too closely at the small print. You're failing, my failing. But there are a lot of caveats there, and as many people have said in the industry, this feels more like just a reason to get people into your facility, rather than offering a unlimited game offer of $1 a day to play on as many machines as possible. No, you cannot play on as many machines as possible. No, you can't have as many tickets as possible. I didn't think it was a good deal, even if it had been allowing you to do everything. It's even a worse deal when you've got so many caveats under it. Personal opinion.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And before we go,
no, please.
I think when here is their pricing, on their website. And look, as soon as you start adding all of this, and this is an image, by the way, which is just even more annoying versus text. Yep. But anyway, you start adding all of these caveats here, and this, you need a package and marketing that's easy to understand.
Yep.
And doesn't carry all of this additional baggage. I shouldn't be looking here, see 3 benefits: unlimited gameplay, 5% off, no tickets earned, which is, by the way, not a benefit. So already there, I have 2 benefits for the $60 and then 3 negatives: no tickets earned, not valid at purple swipe.
In bold, so they know they've already run into problems, so that's why they've had to bold them out. How many members of staff have had the Karen moment so far since they started this? It's not a good look. And the one thing about your numbers and back to basic was understanding what your customer wanted and offering a guest experience. And you have failed with this. Well done, everybody involved.
Absolutely.
And so we saw what the markets thought, because the markets are particularly concerned by the C-suite at Dave & Buster's, as most of us are. And as soon as this deal was announced, whoa, that roller coaster went down. You'd lose your lunch if you were riding it. It is trying to crawl out of the pit as we are recording this, but it doesn't look like it's going to make it too far. And just the reactions from the industry regarding this deal, because remember, this unlimited deal has an impact on facilities dotted around the Dave & Buster's. Are you going to match that? Are you going to try and create your own unlimited deal for your customers? Or if you're smart, you're going to sit on your hands and wait to see where Dave & Buster's is going with this fallacy. I look forward to being proven wrong, but I'm still looking forward to being proven wrong over their test projects, over their self-service entertainment. I'm looking forward to be proven wrong over their fantastic tournament play concept. And I'm looking forward to being proven wrong over how they implied their competitive socializing. It looks like I'm not going to be doing any more consultancy for Dave & Buster's for some time. But some of those comments down there really bite home at what's going on. You cannot discount yourself out of this kind of mess. It's fantastic. But I also point to the one thing is that you can't go back. When you drop down this low, then there's nowhere to go. So you've just devalued your entertainment offering within your most important component, a component that you're now trying to push with 10 new exclusive games over the next couple of months, all based on film licenses. And some film properties are not going to want to be associated with this kind of bad PR.
Absolutely. And, we've said multiple times on both Open and Shut and here on Sound Off that that free play arcade does not work. Free play arcade. How many times have we seen free play arcades or, basically effectively pay one price, come in and play everything in this facility for free, go out of business? And so this is one of the quotes here. How many, once you go free play or unlimited play, you can't go back, as you were talking about. And I do not understand this model. Have they not looked at the industry? Have they not looked at the the history of free play arcade?
We already said it. It's a C-suite of spreadsheet specialists.
Yeah, this is not a membership, right? This is not what Chuck E. Cheese created, which I'm also somewhat skeptical
which we're still waiting to hear how that one worked out. In 3 months' time, we will maybe have another slide up talking about how well that particular mess went. So,
right, but at least that was a membership and a recurring thing. They had their summer pass or whatever you could buy for 3 months, but they did have their memberships. And but this is not a membership. This is a promotion that is effectively making your arcade free play and makes it incredibly
certain machines in your venue free play. So if you looked down,
which is even worse.
If you look down at the model, I was thinking of going into the detail here, but I ran out of red string. If you look down at an architectural drawing of a game room in an average Dave & Buster's, and you looked at the 215 arcade machines and prize systems that you had, you have now homed out 30% of those machines. The rest are now on free play. Those ones that you've homed out, you know what that means. They're not going to get played. Because I've got this card here, and I want to get the most out of this card. Little Johnny has got this card here, and he wants the most out of his play. And he would love to play that Jurassic Park. He would love to play that John Wicks, but he doesn't, he needs to. It's perception. It's trying to get across to the Dave & Buster's individuals that we're in the entertainment industry and not in the bad chicken wings industry and the cheap beer and what's playing on the screen industry. As I said earlier, it's two corporations that came together. There was a reasonably successful arcade and a reasonably successful sports bar and cafeteria. And when they merged together, they created a unison operation where the two founders understood the metrics of what took play and what took meal. And that's what created entertainment. And if I asked the C-suite at Dave & Buster's to explain to me what industry they're in, I think I may be uncomfortable with the answer they give me. For all of you pain lovers out there, I continue to promise to upgrade it, but you know me. Anyway, moving on to the trending tech, and we have confirmation. I was under embargo last time we spoke, but now we can say that it is our friends at Raw Thrills that will be releasing the Stranger Things machine that has the exclusive to go into Dave & Buster's for be interesting to see how that one performs under the current conditions. But anyway, in Post 90 days, we will then see the rest of the industry benefiting from the Stranger Things IP. You notice that Netflix logo is getting larger and larger and larger each amusement release. And we know that Netflix are very keen to look at other of their IP properties to be deployed into amusement cabinet form. So this is one to watch. I wouldn't be surprised if Netflix works really hard at nailing down their game floor, making it exclusive and doing special package deals to get to play their arcade machines in their arcade game rooms. But hey, what do I know? Our friends at Unis are confirming what was rumored, but we couldn't really say. And I alluded to in the Stinger report, but coverage of AEI, but they've now officially confirmed it, that there is a single-player version of their pickleball rival system. We saw it at the Las Vegas show in its two-player, two-pod configuration. I'm still on the fence regarding how this will do. I haven't seen any ROI, but if it follows in the popularity of the Wii style of active video game experience, then it could be a strong player in that market. Again, we wait to know more about this when we talk about it in September.
Yeah.
Something I wanted to bring from Asia just to share with the audience here is a concept that's turfed up from a Chinese company, our friends at Dreams Fun, who we've talked about many times in the Stinger report when we visit them at AAA show, but they do have their finger on the pulse regarding the prize kind of machines. And they've come up with a unique cluster. And what I mean by a cluster is more than one game entertainment in a cluster or standalone unit that can be placed within a facility as a standalone. So in this particular case, the Panda Bus includes a lollipop machine. If you haven't seen how a lollipop grabber works, it's a crane machine that grabs lollipops. It also has a claw machine, a normal claw machine, and some other prize elements, all within its own cluster, all in a very iconic and eye-catching format for the target audience that you're going for. And it is the next generation of the cluster. And I point this out because I wouldn't be surprised that a number of American amusement developers will take one look at that and say, we can do that. We've got that at home. And we will be seeing the, what will it be? The school bus cluster or something like that.
Yeah, I think that, well, you're probably not wrong that will happen. There's something to be said about that type of this type of Japanese influenced design to that you just can't reproduce here in the United States. It has that feel, and it is something that's very popular right now with Gen Z, etc. And so I think that it could do very well, without being redesigned or redeveloped by some other group.
Anyone that knows Studio Ghibli will know why I said school bus. Anyway, our friends at Konami held one of their competitive tournaments for their B-Mania products. They, the Pro League fandom out in Asia, as well as internationally for the B-Mania and music game tournaments is big. You can't hide it. I know some distributors don't like talking about how big the music game scene is and continues to grow, but it had a big following for the B-Mania Pro League. Season 5, I'm sure it's season 6, but anyway, whatever the traits, various teams from franchised groups go. So you have the team that is sponsored by Taito Station. You have the team that is sponsored by Round One. You have the team that is sponsored by Capcom. You've had the team that I assume is sponsored by our friends at Genda. Either way, the team Taito Stations and Team Round One were victorious in various of their championships. And the big winner was Konami because it was a successful streaming audience that watched all of that competition.
Interesting.
The days of seeing a international individual doing well seems to have come to an end now that the structure of the leagues has changed. But again, I know the individuals in the B-Mania community will be lining up right now to set fire to my effigy and correct me on my mistakes. But I haven't seen any of the top UK or US B-Mania stars appearing in any of these tournaments recently.
Yeah.
Talking about the 50th anniversary of Apple and talking about the tech trends, and surprise, surprise, we suddenly see that the Apple stores are now rolling back on the demonstrations that they were giving of the Apple Vision Pro. Shock, horror, heart attack. Who would have thunk it? It is the best indication that we have that even Apple is feeling that they need to have their staff spend more time dealing with your broken Apple 17 rather than trying to get someone to spend 3,000 buckaroonies plus on a box on your head. That said, this pullback is also followed by information that we will be seeing an Apple eyeglass, smart glass system within the next 6 months. And that impact across the consumer VR and spatial computing sector continues. We lost another of the VR hubs, one of those, this is a successful gathering place for VR users. Our Skyworld operation set up in 2019, a card battler multiplayer environment in VR, just turned around and announced that they will be closing down in the next couple of months. So yet again, as Adam would say, another one bites the dust, and the realities of what was successful in consumer VR and what wasn't comes home to roost. And as we in the out-of-home entertainment industry can attest to, we know what works with VR. As our friends at Merlin Entertainment have announced that their SeaWorld in San Antonio has installed a brand new virtual reality attraction based on our friends at iMotion and their pod-based tethered VR system, what I would call Gen 1 approach, but still a very popular system for the audience that is being attracted to the Merlin Entertainment environment.
Yeah, I mean, we talked a little bit about this, obviously, on Open and Shut, but I am, I don't want to do a tailspin or spin off to talk about Merlin here specifically, but yeah, I mean, I think this is an area where Merlin is looking to modernize or maybe update or refresh their sea life experience, and bringing in something like iMotion. It's a great experience, and so bringing that into what is effectively a shopping mall aquarium is a great opportunity to refresh and bring in that repeat visitation that just hasn't happened. I'll say Sea Life does a great job as a small format aquarium. They do a lot of field trips and school trips, and so it'll be interesting to see if this Undersea Explorer experience is also part of that school trip experience, or the throughput issues that we see with location-based VR conflict with that type of corporate group, or I should say school group experience.
I wouldn't be surprised as part of the package for their school groups. It is this type of technology in this variant allows for audience eating. It retains an audience for a certain period of time. It's allowing you to put an attraction, a 4-minute experience into your facility max, and have a unique experience that the majority of your audience won't have. Merlin feels that their relationship with iMotion has been a successful one. iMotion puts their products into aquariums. They also put them into zoos and also into museums, as well as retail. And that's why they have about nearly 150 units out in the market. What happens now is, how do you keep that momentum going, as we keep on saying? You have what I would call phase 1 or generation 1 technology. What is the next move to a sophisticated audience that is always looking for the next greatest? And you're quite right. I feel very strongly that the Sea Life brand that Merlin has taken on board is a great small aquarium package that has worked very well in a number of locations, but is also a package that needs constant support from this kind of additional entertainment offering. Additional entertainment offering. Fever, we constantly go on about it. Our Gender moment will soon be followed by our Fever moment. How many of you watching this know that there are Fever hubs in 5 localities dotted across North America and Europe? How many of you are aware that Fever has just launched its virtual zone, which is, to be blunt, a want-to-be sandbox VR addition to their operation? Some of you who've watched Sound Off from a couple of episodes back, but also read your Stinger report, will be aware that we've been charting Fever's dabbling a toe into the virtual reality sector purely through their access of information through their booking projects. Many of their booking program systems feeds those companies out there that I've mentioned. There are venues, especially in Orlando, that are running their own VR operation, but depend upon Fever ticketing systems to bring the audience to them. And so it's obvious that Fever would look at the market, look at the opportunity, and only 4 blocks from the Sandbox VR facility in Chicago, they have opened up a virtual zone. And the weird thing is that the virtual zone and the Sandbox VR will be using the same Fever booking system.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, this is Fever went from being a operator of pop-up experiences, limited run type experiences, to then begin to focus on operating more permanent installations. So being operators of things like chaos carts in certain places, and basically different brands, but operating permanent installations and locations, to then creating their own experiences, and then aggregating everything that they're doing on their feverup.com website, but then collectively aggregating then every other experience that even they don't have a hand in, to put on their site to be a central hub. And now they're going directly after some of their former, what we would call it, partners or listings on their website to compete directly with them. And I think VR is maybe one of the low-hanging fruits that they're able to dip their toe in the water to address. And I would not be surprised if we start to see overall new experiences that are created by, owned and operated by Fever in locations right down the street, potentially from somebody who not too long ago was listing their experience on Fever.
That access to that information, as we always say here at Sound Off, the data is king. And if you have access to that data, then you know a lot more about your audience than just watching them come in and swipe their card. And one of those operations that will be depending very heavily on a Fever ticketing system is our friends at Oasis, with their announcement that they have partnered with Universe and X-Room, developers of what I call virtual adventures. The more than just a free roaming experience. It's the projection mapped exhibit kind of approach, and then putting on the head-mounted display and walking through a 20 to 30 minute adventure based upon the particular narrative. Universe has rolled out a number of these based on various. We talked about in the last Sound Off their work with the Netflix Black Mirror project, and so this is just a continuation of this, going into an already established locality or location in Montreal, and soon to be populating it with this level of virtual adventure.
Yeah. I guess we can still have another one of these and more of these and more of these. And eventually, I'm not sure, like they, continue to, in theory, do well, perhaps. But, this is definitely.
There is a limit. There is a limit.
Yeah, there's a limit. And so this is obviously one focused on kids. This is an immersive animals, Carnival of the Animals, if you're just listening, on their oasis.im website. And they have some interactivity as well here, but then they obviously have different types of, different rooms, different experiences based on the time of day, based on the audience and the groups coming in, school groups in the day, other things at night. And while, these things are great, how long can you just sit in a room and stare at walls?
Illuminarium. We've already touched on the
exactly.
dangers of standing still. So I assume that Oasis, even though this is a brand new installation, have suddenly worked out that if they don't want to go the way of Illuminarium, and only one of the Illuminarium's 3 remaining facilities closed down, I need to be clear about, that they have now partnered with a virtual reality and immersive virtual adventure company or group towards creating unique experiences. And from their point of view, if these are successful experiences, they could end up like Felix and Paul with a traveling entertainment experience that could go that extra mile. It is understanding the growth of immersive technology and not sitting on your laurels and hoping you can do the same old for 3 or 4 years, but embracing the next generation that makes the difference. And I look forward to visiting Montreal to try out both the Black Mirror, but also what will be installed in Oasis. Taking that immersive experience using, in this case, not projection, but LED walls, floors and surfaces, creating a compelling experience, and then superimposing on that using mixed reality headsets. We talked about this many moons ago, over 2 years ago. Well, nearly 2 years ago, that Capcom had developed this concept, Monster Hunter Bridge, which was an enclosure using this technology. At the time, they were using the HoloLens as their intermediary for the mixed reality. Now they're using a proprietary system developed for this experience. And surprise, surprise, with the closing of the expo that this was associated with, the experience carries on. It has generated interest, and they have now put it in its own unique structure, where it will continue until 2027, they're saying, though I get the feeling that if popularity continues in this marriage of phygital with transmedia, a very popular video game from the Monster Hunter series, a interactive immersive experience that's accessible for everyone, which has a limited frictionless immersive level. The heavy lifting is done by the LED screens. The characters are recreated through the head mounts, and with the capability for updating, click of a mouse and a new experience, we will see this kind of approach continue.
Be interesting to watch.
Interesting to watch. And I wouldn't be surprised if it gets a Western deployment as well, because we're seeing a growing interest in LED enclosure environments, and this is just something you could parachute in. I'm surprised that our friends at Versus aren't involved with something like this.
Yeah.
We talked about it last time, but I need to underpin it. Angry Birds, the transmedia property, is in our sector. We've already talked about the Angry Birds that was used by Immersive Gamebox. We touched upon some of the other applications of it in amusement, and our friends at Neo Experiences have their body active employment of Angry Birds, which they've been promoting with Angry Birds Dash for Cash or Cash. I couldn't work out if it was for or. I apologize. It is a multiplayer game. Your body movements are captured, so computer vision system, and as you jump or move forwards or back, your character on screen is launched, and then you can steer it through. So it's building on the popularity of the Angry Birds. It is a very simplistic game to play, and it is appealing to all audiences, and it's another Rovio license, so the people at Sega are very happy.
Yeah. All right. Well, one more Angry Birds, I guess.
One more. Will it be the last, though, Brandon? Will we make it? Will your prediction for 2026 be that this is where the line is drawn with Angry Birds, or the announcement of the new film may spur others to jump in. We have the licensing expo to look forward to in a month's time, that maybe will tell us what's next. And that kind of leads us to the expos. This month is an incredible April, incredibly crowded month for expos. We've already had the chaos and confusion at the beginning, or should I say near the end, with the amusement expo and all of the events that surrounded that. But we didn't touch upon that took place during the end of March at that point, the bar and restaurant show, and how much that had an impact on the amusement and competitive socializing. It was, just a week after the end of AEI that it was held. It's a shame that these shows are separated, because at the same time Pizza Expo was being held within the confines, and those are shows that used to feed off of the energy of AEI. The amusement industry trade decided that they didn't want to be associated with the alcoholism and fun and excitement of bar and restaurant. I'm joking. And it's just, they've gone their separate ways, and now that separate ways getting more. Next year, we're seeing March 2020 to 2024, where I think Amusement Expo is March 12th to something. I'm not sure exactly, but you can see that yet again we have the separation. Though, no matter how much you may try and force the separation, we saw at a nightclub and bar the lot of amusement products that are aimed for competitive socializing, promoting their wares there, and for the hospitality industry, the bar and the restaurant hospitality industry, to actually embrace with both hands the opportunity that competitive socializing brings. Moving on, also taking place a matter of weeks after that, was our friends at Trans World Interactive Entertainment. If you've never had the chance to go to one of their events, it is an amazing gathering, especially the Halloween component. You've never seen so many pumpkin models in your life, or jack-o'-lantern skins. It is an important seasonal event that also touches the attractions industry as well as the consumer sector. But fundamentally, from our point of view, there was a very strong support of interactive entertainment and XR. And so we saw some VR companies actually exhibit at the event, as well as we saw some of the immersive enclosure companies going there to offer entertainment. Our friends from VR Arcade Arena, were there promoting their product. It is this kind of crossover between interactive and experiential that I keep on going on about. People are paying for an experience now as part of their entertainment, and these guys in Trans World get it, really what we're trying to offer. Moving on to what's taking over April, the joy doesn't end, and we've got a very crowded next couple of weeks for the rest of the month. We have Sea Trade Cruise Global, which is the cruise line industry. So you're looking at me weirdly saying, why is the cruise line industry important to us? Well, more cruise ships are putting in entertainment and competitive socializing than you've ever seen before. Some of those mid-scale, small attractions that we were looking at on the AEI floor in Las Vegas last month will be finding a home on the latest super cruise line ship. And the cruise line industry has bounced back from COVID. All funnels blaring. They have managed to work out what their audiences want, their trapped audience on board. They've worked out a pricing model and a business model that is very conducive to especially a cash-strapped audience. And now they're looking at competitive socializing entertainment and mid-scale immersive entertainment as additions to their entertainment mix. We also have CinemaCon. What's that important to us, Kevin? Well, you'll be surprised how many amusement machines are going to be finding their way into cinema. If you haven't heard me go on about Cinetainment and how many of the new brands of cinema venues are including a quite constructed, controlled, and I'm trying to grab the word properly, but they have condensed. There we go, got it eventually. They have condensed an entertainment offering of both a high-level dining and cinema experience. They have also offered a competitive socializing, and they're also offering a family entertainment model. They're trying to utilize their space not by filling them up by films, but also by offering a mixed entertainment offering. And while CinemaCon is primarily there to promote the success of the next big brand that's coming along, and hopefully the next big box office success that will come along and follow in the wake of our friends with Mario. There is also the situation where the cinema industry is very aware of how much their box office has been attacked over the last few years, and how they have to redesign themselves to stay relevant. Some will, some won't, and also understand that some of these corporations behind the cinema industry have been going through merger and acquisition, and so they're also looking at improving their transmedia chops. We also have Cart Expo. I'm not sure how many of our audience will be aware of Cart Expo, but the Michigan gathering offers a chance for the loyal and the specialists in the outdoor and indoor karting industry to gather, to share ideas. There's a very strong educational program, but there's also a mini seminar exhibition component where a number of names that we were seeing at Amusement Expo will be showing themselves there. The interesting component here is how many competitive socializing venues, how many FECs, and how many of the new mules, mixed-use leisure entertainment sites, are dependent on a centerpiece indoor karting component. If you've been looking at our open and shuts, you've been seeing a constant rollout. You can't stand still in that sector like you can't stand still in the game floor or in the immersive or in the VR. And so what are the next derivations of technological improvements that are going to hit the karting sector? We're now talking about obviously the next generation of e-karting. We're also talking about the closing down of outdoor karting venues in favor of indoor karting and their benefits, which offers a slower race experience in many cases. But we're also looking at next generation technology being employed. I've talked about gamification in karting, but we've also had the virtual reality and projection mapped kinds of applications. All of these will be touched upon at this year's event. Our friends at Amusement Expo had a large show floor, but pushed away on the side was our friends at Creative Works. But they get their chance to shine now because they will have their big event in Indianapolis at the end of this month. Amusement 360 is a very popular boot camp for individuals looking at breaking into the FEC market. And they have two events now in the year, one in their April slot and one in August. I hope to be presenting there and going into the details of the technologies and trends to put my audience to sleep. And the other occasion of putting my audience to sleep will be at London Experience Week that will be taking place also at the end of the month. This is the gathering in London for the technologies and trends with the London Experience Week, the museum side, the attraction, the entertainment, but it's also partnered with the World Experience organization that are focused on the immersive and the live guest experience kind of approach. So you kind of had the meeting of two mega forces in London, and a lot of education, a lot of innovation, and a lot of discussion about where this market is going will be made there. But again, for all of the events that I've mentioned, Google is there for you. Just to wind up, not happening in April, thank God, or else my brain would explode. Taking place in June, a couple of months down the road. We have AWE, Augmented World Expo has added the location-based entertainment XR component to it. We've already talked about the Arcade, who are going to be supporting Pico, the head-mounted display. We also have now announcements of some other from the location-based entertainment industry that are going to be supporting this event. So it is building a good head of steam. And I look forward to seeing all of you who are interested in location-based entertainment there. Anyway, that is more than enough from me on this occasion. You know the drill. We have the LinkedIn, so you can correct me on all my mistakes. We have a number of stingers out now, rolling out. Thank you, Brandon, for keeping the pipeline going there. And if you have any direct questions, you have my email details.
Wow, what a great rundown of all of the crazy stuff happening in just the month of April, and that's coming right out of the right after month March, which is obviously as you covered. So it is it's a lot. Absolutely looking forward to Augmented World Expo with you though, and I hope to see every one of our listeners there at least at that expo, if not some of the others that you just ran through.
Wow. Well, wishing everyone a good one, and we'll see you next Sound Off.
See you on the next Sound Off.